So this is the prospective informCLL registry. Approximately 1,500 patients from across the US have been followed prospectively since 2015. Very large patient population of treated CLL patients, largely from community practice sites in the US, gives us great opportunity to observe what's going on in clinical practice and contrast those results to what may be going on from clinical trials or what is observed from clinical trials, and also what the guidelines suggest for appropriate patient management. In this study, the questions were quite simple: to describe the patient population in terms of their baseline characteristics, and then start to look at the prognostic testing patterns for patients. And in CLL, we have great professional organizations like the NCCN and the IWCLL and others that make recommendations about what prognostic tests should be performed in order to help not only prognosticate patients, but also guide clinical decision-making at this time. And so we asked here in this large patient population, how many of them are having the appropriate testing? That's kind of question number one. And then question two is, of those patients who've had appropriate testing but still have a poor prognostic feature, how many of them have the recommendation for therapy that we would agree with or that the guidelines would recommend? And so the take-home answer was that across the board, only a minority of patients have had appropriate testing. FISH testing in about a third of patients, IGHV mutational testing in about 10 or 11%, and the same for patients with next-gen sequencing having a TP53 mutation. So big surprise is that the vast majority of patients in this data set didn't have the testing that would be the basics of what's recommended in order to make a decision for patient care. The bigger surprise was even those patients who had the right test and who had a poor prognostic feature, we're seeing 20 to 30% of those patients are having chemoimmunotherapy as their choice, even though the literature is rich in clinical trials that support the use of targeted agents above the chemoimmunotherapy choice, which is an older choice. And so the major take home from this is